The countdown clock is ticking a little bit louder to when Green Bay is hosting the 2025 NFL Draft now that the Super Bowl is in the books. I'm Ben Krumholz, and we've been speaking with the people that are leading the efforts of organizing this big event. We've been asking the questions that both locals and visitors want to know.
Welcome to the draft.
As a three-day record of 775,000 people descended on Detroit for last year's NFL Draft, local organizers and NFL officials told Fox 11 planning for the big event ramps up once the Super Bowl is done.
The intensity builds because of the timing of it.
John Barker oversees the production of tentpole events and international games for the NFL. This is his 7th draft and says the process is a lot like building a house. And a lot of layers will be added in the next few weeks.
We bring in our sponsorship department, we bring in our marketing department, we bring in our broadcast department, we bring in our entertainment guys, we bring in our presentation guys, and we start to build the next layer of this thing. And it just so happens that starts in the end of February.
Now that we've reached this point in planning, both Green Bay-based organizers and the NFL feel good about where things are at.
Well, we've never hosted one before, so we don't really know, I guess, where we're supposed to be. But last we were talking with the NFL, they felt we were probably 60 days ahead of where they would normally be at this point. So I think that's a good thing.
We've known throughout the process the draft campus will be centered around Lambeau Field. The Titletown District will be the site of the NFL Experience, an interactive area where fans can test their football skills, check out Super Bowl rings and trophies, and enjoy player appearances. In June, Fox 11 was first to report the stage is planned to be located on Oneida Street, facing the stadium.
The reason that we want to face Lambeau Field is because when you shoot into the theater, you're shooting the stage and the backdrop. But the shot that you want is that turnaround. So when you're shooting out from the stage and back over the crowd, and what I really wanted to see was Lambeau Field. So I wanted to make sure the hero shot had the hero in it, and the hero is Lambeau Field.
Organizers tell us the campus layout won't see any major changes moving forward.
Yeah, we expect all those things are going to continue to be planned that way. And I think once we get to early and mid-March, more of that information will be really finalized. So we'll see what that looks like in its final form.
Packers Director of Public Affairs Aaron Popke tells us the stage will resemble the one from when Kansas City hosted the draft 2 years ago. That stage was more rectangular in shape compared to last year's in Detroit, which had more of a dome look.
I liken Detroit's stage to about the half the size of the Resch Center. So if you kind of take the roof line of the Resch Center, cut it in half, pick it up and drop it down, that's kind of the size of the overall stage. And what we're being told is that this year's stage is going to be larger than Detroit's.
It helps Green Bay's draft campus is expected to be about double the square footage of Detroit's.
When you were in Detroit, you saw some of those challenges that that downtown area presented for both public safety, but then the people that were attending as well. And I don't think we have as many of those challenges with our space.
Entrances to the campus are expected to be on the west end, near Titletown and Ridge Road.
The nice ingress to the campus will be smooth and spread out.
The perimeter of each draft campus is fenced, draped with marketing to prevent people from seeing in or out. While Lombardi Avenue will be shut down, there will be a walkway for people outside of the footprint to get to the campus gates.
Really, the perimeter, stage location, entries, those things are pretty set in stone. It's the inside of probably the fence line we're going to tweak just a little bit, but I wouldn't see any big changes coming.
Local organizers tell us the finer details of the campus layout should be finalized in early to mid-March. They say the same goes for road closures. Road closures before, during, and after the NFL Draft are tentatively scheduled to last 6 weeks. The first closure will be to start building the massive draft stage on Oneida Street.
It's planned for us to start seeing impact around the weekend of March 28th. That's when that initial closure is going to happen on Oneida Street. And then there'll be sequence closures on the other roads that are impacted by the draft campus all the way up to that April 22nd, 23rd date.
Ashwaubenon Village Manager Joel Gregozeski says the initial Oneida Street closure will span the block of Lambeau Field from Lombardi Avenue to the stadium parking lot's southeast corner.
After a few weeks of that initial build out of the stage, you'll start to see sequencing on Lombardi. So there will be eastbound traffic restrictions on Lombardi Avenue starting as early as mid-April. And that will also affect South Ridge and that by the Titletown district between Titletown and Lambeau.
The rest of Lombardi is tentatively scheduled to close the week leading up to the draft.
That's going to be pretty impactful, especially for businesses that rely on Lombardi Avenue for not only their employees, but maybe their contractors, vendors, deliveries, things of that nature.
Other streets, mostly on the east side of the draft campus, will see shorter closures, tentatively Tuesday the 22nd through Monday the 28th, to accommodate pedestrian traffic for the 3-day event.
Anything we do to not mix vehicles and pedestrians will be amazing for us. But I think just those road closure plans are a big piece of that.
Organizers warn these closures could change. More information is still coming, including detour routes.
So we ask for people to continue to be patient while the plan gets finalized. And then early to mid-March, as that finalization occurs, we'll be in a position to communicate that, see what questions people have, and make sure they get comfortable with what the routine will be for that period of time.
Sam Krasenstein oversaw the road closures for last year's NFL draft in Detroit, which were similar in length.
What advice would you give to the people of Green Bay dealing with all the road closures and different things that come with this event?
I would say it's, be patient and be part of the excitement. So the whole fan experience, it's not just for the NFL, it's not just for people coming down just to see, the picks being made. It's about being in that fun atmosphere and being part of that experience and having the chance to really show off your city on the national and international stage.
If you're doing the math, you're probably thinking if the road closures start March 28th, that's just 4 weeks before the start of the draft. Well, you get to 6 weeks because it's expected to take up to 2 weeks after the draft to clean everything up. So how are people supposed to actually navigate these road closures to get here for the event, or perhaps just steer clear of all the traffic trouble that could be coming? The local organizers say more detailed information will be coming, but they have a pretty good idea of how people should approach driving during the draft.
From day one, we said it was going to be a heavy lift for the community, and everybody's done a great job, and we're excited to see these final pieces come into place and everyone plan accordingly.
One of the final pieces is solidifying traffic patterns. Packers Director of Public Affairs Aaron Popke says while there will be similarities to game days, there's one major difference with the draft. The campus opens at noon Thursday and Friday, but the picks don't start until later in the evening.
The ingress will be a little more spread out because people will arrive at different times for the day. Our anticipation is the egress, everyone leaving the site, will be a little more compact. Anticipating a lot of people stay up until near the end of the draft each day.
The NFL has told Fox 11 the campus perimeter is pretty set in stone, with the public aspect centered around Lambeau Field and the Titletown district, the Resch complex being home to back-of-house operations. Inside the footprint, there's a lot of parking spots that visitors would typically use on a game day. With those unavailable for the draft, the neighborhoods will be relied on even more for parking.
We know that parking is going to look very similar to game days in their neighborhoods. Some of the remote parking locations that have popped up will assist with some of the vehicle control around the footprint.
To get to the draft campus, a major difference from game days is Lombardi Avenue will be closed.
So you'll see more traffic on places like Ashland Avenue, Mason Street, things of that nature, because we're gonna attempt to try to disperse that traffic on those corridors simply because Lombardi will be closed as part of the campus.
Ashwaubenon Village Manager Joel Gregozeski says the Lombardi Avenue exit from Highway 41 will be open, but visitors are advised not to use it, especially because it will be difficult to access the neighborhoods for parking. People traveling to the draft from the north, going southbound on 41, or coming west from Highway 29 are recommended to exit on Mason Street. Those traveling from the south, coming northbound on 41, are recommended to exit onto Ashland Avenue. And those coming on Highway 172 should use the Oneida Street Ashland Avenue exit.
There will be an exit open at Lombardi, but again, most of the traffic's going to be encouraged to get off at these other points in order to disperse the traffic, so it doesn't create a backup situation on incoming traffic to the draft campus.
A location for rideshare and shuttle pickup and drop-off has not been released yet. While the Brown County Tavern League announced in December it will be offering shuttle rides around the Green Bay area, a draft committee is working on a broader shuttle system for visitors staying at hotels farther away.
Right now, the biggest challenge is the communities around the state of Wisconsin that are running shuttles. How many are you running? How often are you running them? And they're trying to work that out, so it's hard for us to make final plans.
Brad Toll is the president and CEO of Discover Green Bay. The agency reports so far, visitors bureaus in Minocqua, Wausau, Appleton, Milwaukee, Marinette, and Door County are planning shuttles. Toll expects details will be ironed out in the next month or so. As for the people who aren't looking to make it to the draft, yet live in the area and just want to avoid all those people trying to get to the event, it's advised you don't use the highways draft goers will be taking. City streets will be a better method of travel for those 3 days. As long as you do that and avoid this zone about a mile out from the stadium on all sides where organizers believe people will park, you should be able to avoid the thick of increased traffic.
Avoiding the main thoroughfares, utilizing our day-to-day routes to stay away from those things is going to be helpful. But we know it's going to be contained to that general area.
Green Bay Police Captain Ben Allen is leading public safety planning for the draft. As part of those preparations, he spent Super Bowl week in New Orleans.
The NFL experience that will be at the draft is also held each year at the Super Bowl. Allen says it was helpful to see the screening process and setup even though it was held indoors. He also says the trip south served as an important reminder to build flexibility into the draft plan. President Trump's attendance provided a new wrinkle to plans that had been worked on for months.
There are so many things that are going to impact or have the potential of impacting our plan. You know, anything from weather to celebrity visits to political visits, all of those things. So it just really opened our mind again that we have to have those contingencies in place as part of our overall planning.
Speaking of celebrities, hosting the NFL draft comes with a concert series that often includes big-name acts. This is video of the last big free concert the NFL put on outside Lambeau Field. It was for the home opener after winning Super Bowl 45. Kid Rock, Lady A, and Maroon 5 performed for a crowd that was estimated to be more than 100,000 people. The draft traditionally has an act play on each day of the draft, either before or after that day's picks are made. Performers like Fall Out Boy, Motley Crue, Kings of Leon, and Big Sean performed at recent drafts. The NFL tells Fox 11 acts will be booked by early March.
That's the work that we start to do now. We start to think about what makes sense for us, where our needs would be, what does that look like. So we'll start to think about that now. You can't book artists too far in advance. Their schedules, they don't know their schedules yet. They don't know when they're touring.
John Barker also tells us decisions are being made on whether there will be a concert on each of the 3 nights or saving acts for a bigger event on 1 or 2 of the nights.
We've been saying it for months. This will be the biggest event the Green Bay area has ever hosted. So is it all hype? Are the people actually coming? Members of the host organizing committee say they'll be ready for whoever does come.
Before Detroit opened the gates to last year's NFL draft, organizers predicted as many as 400,000 people could attend. After the last pick was announced on Saturday, the NFL reported a record 775,000 people made it inside the draft footprint.
You know, in Detroit, we saw they had a beautiful weekend, some really nice afternoons and evenings, and that drew in people from nearby.
Even after seeing the crowds in Detroit, Green Bay's draft organizers have kept their attendance projection at about 240,000 people.
I think that if you're a football fan, this is your reason to go to draft, because you get to do 2 things. You get to come to the NFL draft, which hands down is one of the greatest events ever, but you also get a reason to come to Green Bay and go to Lambeau Field. And I think that it's almost a pilgrimage of football.
Are there any challenges with that you've come across planning for Green Bay, considering we're so much smaller than any other NFL market?
No, we haven't. It goes back to the fact that, and that's the beauty of draft, it's the beauty of Super Bowl. Everything is adaptable. Everything is malleable. Everything is changeable. So we don't put a draft in a box and say, this is draft, and bring it to you and open it up and take it out and go, here's drafts. We come to the city and think about, well, how do we produce a draft for this city?
Barker and every other organizer we spoke with in the past week agree that weather will decide if attendance is below or above expectations. The NFL tracks attendance with its OnePass app. The draft is free to attend, but people have to register using the app. A majority of draft attendees drive to the event. In 2021, when the draft was in Cleveland, 69% of people came from a drivable market. 2 years ago in Kansas City, it was 57%. About 2/3 of attendees stay in hotels, 64% in both Cleveland and Kansas City.
I really think given, it's a free event, we'll see people make that commitment to come much closer than we're used to as far as game day. We all know when the schedule comes out, people are planning the entire season, and that's not the case for an event like this.
A search of Booking.com shows 88% of hotels in Green Bay are unavailable the night before the draft starts. The average price when searching for a room for 4 people is $788. In Appleton, 78% of hotels are unavailable. The average price, $421. In Oshkosh, a search doesn't show a percent of hotels that are unavailable, likely meaning stock isn't as scarce. The average price, $255. Booking.com shows unavailability and price are both higher on the prime Thursday night of the draft. In Green Bay, 92% of the hotels are unavailable. The average price, $988. In Appleton, the rate is also 92%, with average price at $564. In Oshkosh, 81% of hotels are unavailable, with the average price of those available at $395. Brad Toll of Discover Green Bay says he's confident all hotels, including surrounding areas, will fill up by the time the draft comes.
They manage that no different than a game day, and as it gets closer and closer, you fill the last few rooms that you have available.
Has anyone had to lower room prices at all, or is it just kind of where they put them at initially?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. I think they're still, hoping that as it draws closer, the demand will be there.
At the end of December, Fox 11 reported the average price of 6 available hotels in Appleton was between $400 and $504 a night between Wednesday and Saturday of draft week. 6 weeks later, the average price for the same hotels has gone up for Thursday and Friday. It went down for Wednesday and stayed the same for Saturday.
So I guess what would be your advice then to maybe people who are looking to rent out their house? Just hold steady, it'll come?
I think so. So it's just a matter of watching the market, seeing what's selling, what isn't, and adjusting accordingly as it gets closer.
Some recent drafts have reached capacity inside the campus footprint, causing gates to at least close temporarily, including last year in Detroit on the first night, just before Roger Goodell was set to first take the stage.
In Detroit, we did have to, for a little bit, close the gates. People stayed outside. They were lovely, respectful. We made sure they were entertaining, having a good time. And as people started to move out, we brought more people in and we just flew in.
The draft campus in Green Bay is expected to be double the square footage of last year's campus in Detroit.
Is there a number for how many will be allowed inside the gates?
How many will be allowed in? No, we've talked through that and what that would look like, and it really, we know our space, our theater space, is probably 4 times bigger than what they had in Detroit. We know one picture showed where it was pretty packed. It was approximately 20,000 people. So I think our capacity is at least there, certainly if not quite a bit more, just based on the square footage of our space.
If capacity were to be reached or come close, the NFL's OnePass app would let you know.
That notification was sent out and it was real time, and so people that were planning to enter the campus knew that they had limited time to do so before that capacity was reached.
People planning to attend the NFL draft can register beginning March 4th using the NFL's OnePass app. This is also your one-stop shop for all things draft. Of course, we'll continue to keep you updated on everything draft related. You can check out our coverage to date by going to fox11online.com and clicking on the 2025 NFL Draft section. For Fox 11 News, I'm Ben Krumholz. Thank you for watching.